Today on Things That Aged Poorly, we look at a PlayStation fanboy.
I don't care if you're a PC gamer, Xbox type of guy, or pro Nintendo, one thing is absolutely certain, Sony and PlayStation have always dominated the exclusive.
Well, I mean, technically Nintendo has always had their most comfortable exclusives be on every single one of their consoles, probably in some capacity, but I guess if it comes to something that is 3D rendered, I guess maybe PlayStation is kind of the king, but not in a very large way.
Okay, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. PC offers some sick games, and Mario is a king, but between Xbox and PlayStation, there definitely is no comparison.
Do you know that some of the best-selling games of all time, like Undertale, God forbid I have to say that in a sentence, is actually the most dominant on PC because that's where it started?
PlayStation has been, currently is, and will likely continue to be the winner for years to come when it comes to comparing exclusives. I mean, sure, Halo is sick, but who knows when it's coming out?
To be fair, it was supposed to come out at the end of 2020, but then they pushed the release date back, and so now it's holiday of 2021. But I think that it'll pretty much come out then. I mean, I would like for it to. I mean, I don't personally care about Halo myself, but I think that it would be fun for the entire ecosystem to have it. However, on that same coin, how do we know when any of these other games are going to come out? I mean, according to, September 2020 when this video came out.
Spider-Man, on the other hand, well, that bad boy is expected to be released right on schedule. Today on Life's Biggest Questions, we're coming at you with another top 10 list as we count down the top 10 PlayStation 5 exclusives that will end Xbox.
Wait, it's going to take away and kill everyone's Xbox? Like, it's going to be so massive that it'll just corrupt everyone's systems? Well, now I gotta see this list of games. Hopefully they're really good.
What's good, everyone? I'm your host, Jared Bronstein, and today we're looking at some of the most talked about and hyped game titles exclusive for the PlayStation 5.
First of all, why is there a channel called Life's Biggest Questions? And also, why are PlayStation exclusives that are quote-unquote going to kill Xbox is a big question? Why is this Life's Biggest Question? Can't we just play video games at this point?
I will say now there are some games on here which will be available for PC as well, but we'll mainly be focusing on games that are available on PlayStation and not Xbox. As always, make sure you guys stick around to the end of this one for some comment replies for another video, but for now, let's get right into it. Starting things off at number 10, Spider-Man Miles Morales.
That's weird. This game came out and the Xbox is still around, and in fact, I actually got me one. So, is it still going to kill the Xbox?
I just want to say this list is in no particular order, and I was going to put this title at number 1, but then I realized I'm the one in control of these lists, and they're not a reflection of best to worst or worst to best.
Now, I don't want to really be a stickler or a Eugene for this kind of thing, but why did you use a screenshot from Grand Theft Auto to talk about Spider-Man Miles Morales? I mean, unless it was for the lulz, then I mean, sure, go for it, but this doesn't help you in any way.
If a game made it on this list, it's going to be fire.
You know what? I'll make sure that I keep that in the back of my mind going forward. Knowing what we know now.
So obviously, we're kicking this list off with the most fire game ever made for the console in Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Is it the most fire game for the console? I mean, it's a launch title, kind of, but it still doesn't really, do a whole lot more than like the PS4 could. I mean, sure, you get upgraded visuals, but are we really basing it just off of that entirely?
We all love ourselves a fun adventure game, but you know what we love even more? A fun superhero adventure game with graphics so sharp and spicy that we think we're watching a movie while we play.
Isn't that pretty much every PlayStation exclusive though?
And that's exactly what Spider-Man is. The spiciest, sharpest looking game out there. Insomniac Games just recently dropped a 4K trailer for the game, and it seriously is making me contemplate switching sides from Team Xbox to Team PlayStation. All because of this one game.
This entire video is written by someone who has only had PlayStation and refuses to play Xbox. It's really noticeable.
It seriously looks that sick, and to no surprise, the gameplay will be amazing if it's anything like the 2018 Spider-Man exclusive game released, which was also developed by Insomniac. Starting this one off with a bang.
Sure, you're starting it off with the bang. And let's not forget that this could also potentially come to the PC. Remember the whole slate comment? Yeah, I think we need to keep our eyes and our ears open for it.
At number 9, Returnal. Odds are this game is going to give Halo Infinite, the Xbox exclusive title, a run for its money. This PS5 exclusive is a third-person shooter, but what makes it insanely interesting is the premise that upon death, the alien world around you completely changes. Expecting to drop sometime in 2021, which is also the case with Halo, who due to the pandemic had to push back their release date, don't be surprised if the two games drop around the same time.
Nope. That was nowhere near gonna happen. Nope. Sorry.
It's a PlayStation Worldwide Studios game being developed by House Marquee, who previously worked on Resogun and Next Machinima, so as you can imagine, the hype for this one is real. Although in the past, House Marquee impressed everyone with their arcade style of gameplay, at the PS5 showcase, when the trailer for Returnal dropped, everyone realized these guys really can do it all.
Well, doing it all or not, they didn't really get that high of a grade. I mean, they still did pretty competently. I mean, if you look at some of the reviews, you'll probably see that people, particularly the people that actually own the system, they kind of enjoyed the game. Depends on who you ask, though.
Aside from the insanely realistic looking graphics, the gameplay itself was wild, and the idea of a constantly changing adventure game seems like a huge win for me.
Returnal is literally just a roguelike game. It does start you over, but you don't lose any of your progress because it's still a story-based game. So it has some elements of being an action-adventure game, but it also has some roguelike elements. But, I mean, I don't expect a Sony pony to actually know what that means.
Now at number 8, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, an absolute classic that I grew up with. Probably the most impressive thing about this game is the instant rift jumping. I'm sure the graphics will also be mint, but what's going to knock this game out of the park is that it's being developed by Insomniac Games as well. As previously mentioned, they made the 2018 Spider-Man exclusive and are the team behind Miles Morales, so it's safe to say this game is also going to be a banger.
Something should be noted when talking about video game developers. Sometimes, not all the time, they can make some really bad games, and it's not usually the same team. So if you look in the case of maybe something like BioWare, and how you always had Mass Effect 1 through 3, I don't know if you want to really count 3, BioWare also made Mass Effect Andromeda, and that game was awful. But if you look at something like Ratchet and Clank, maybe people would probably enjoy it a little bit more because it's still made by Insomniac Games, but probably not the same number of people that worked on the original games, I mean. So when it comes to that, I still have to remain a little bit skeptical, but also the game seems like it's pretty fine, people enjoy it. But as far as the other point that I was going to make, the rift jumping mechanic, that is something that you can do on PC still too. It's literally just a gimmick. In fact, one of the developers that uses Unreal Engine and Unity was able to create the exact same thing with that rift jump mechanic. And it's something that can be done if you were able to take the time and do it on your own. And again, this is something that was done pretty much on a whim.
Aside from those titles, Insomniac is responsible for titles such as Spyro and Resistance, as well as the original Ratchet and Clank game. Although I'm an Xbox guy, the nostalgia I'd get from playing this game is really making me debate whether or not I'll be picking up a PS5 instead of an Xbox. I've been saying it all along, I'm an Xbox guy, but when it comes to the exclusives, PlayStation has and likely always will have the edge. The game is also going to be taking advantage of the new PlayStation 5 DualSense controllers, and it's expected to be available around the same time the PS5 launches, so this can certainly be a determining factor when looking at initial sales of both consoles.
Spoiler alert, it didn't come out at the launch of the console.
Wow. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh.
At number 6, Demon's Souls. This game is actually a remake of the PS3 original, however this version is being created by Bluepoint Games, who are behind Shadow of the Colossus. It's been dubbed a remake worth waiting a decade for, playing on the fact that the original dropped in 2009, and giving way to believe the remake will be a huge improvement. It's going to be a console launching game, and it doesn't seem like it will be available for PC, which is even more reason for people to snag Sony's next-gen console.
Yet. It's not available for the PC yet. Remember, a whole slate.
Since the original release, From Software, who developed the game, would go on to create the Dark Souls trilogy and Bloodborne, both of which would go on to become fan favorites and get critical acclaim, with some even calling them the best games of all time. So the hype for Demon's Souls is real, as the game is not only expected to be absolutely amazing, but those who enjoy the original no longer need to wait to enjoy the online experience once again. Servers for the online game shut down in 2018, so this game has been highly anticipated, and given that it may not be available for PC, well, even more reason for people to grab the PlayStation 5.
You already said that though, but again, these games, they could come to PC sooner than you think. That's what happened with Days Gone and Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding. Remember? Although those were PlayStation exclusive games and they ended up coming to the PC. So I wouldn't necessarily get my hopes up about trying to keep everyone on a console.
Halfway down on our list, Untitled Naughty Dog game.
Man's really put a game on here that's not even announced. It's just an untitled game. Why even include it in the first place?
There aren't any rumors or speculation of what the company's next game will be, but given their history, it's bound to be an incredible one. Naughty Dog are responsible for some all-time classics, such as Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter. However, they are also the masterminds behind the Uncharted series, which is one of the top-selling PS4 games, and the top-selling console-exclusive game, topping over 20 million sales. Then there's the Last of Us series, which was also a massive hit, and given that their latest installation dropped in 2020, it seems we're due for a new title soon.
Wait, how does that make any sense? The Last of Us isn't even a yearly franchise or even a bi-yearly franchise. It is literally just whenever they feel like they want to try to make money. And with The Last of Us Part 2, I don't think that they're going to try to bring back people in. They kind of screwed the pooch on that one, but again, this is from someone that played the original and liked it, and then the second one, and it was awful.
There's no real pattern or timeline to when the company releases games, but on average it seems they drop at least one new title annually. Although The Last of Us Part 2 dropped in June of this year, I wouldn't be surprised if a new title is announced and possibly available for purchase in early 2021.
Okay, first of all, that's a lie. And second, let's go ahead and look at the list of games that came out, because they don't release them every single year. Between Uncharted: The Lost Legacy and The Last of Us Part 2, that was a 3-year difference.
Regardless of what they develop, I can tell you guys right now it will be an instant classic and you'll want to get your hands on it.
Homeboy didn't read the room when The Last of Us Part 2 came out, because I don't think anyone's gonna try to buy a console just for that game. Unless you're just a hardcore Sony pony, but you know, that's just a me take.
Making its way on to number 4, Horizon Forbidden West. A sequel to the wildly popular Horizon Zero Dawn, the trailer for this game at the showcase was definitely one of the best, if not the best, in regards to a game's graphics. The good news is that Sony has confirmed the game will also be coming to the PS4, but let's be real, we're all going to want to enjoy it in all its glory, and the only way to do that is on a PS5.
Dude, no one could get their hands on a PlayStation 5, and of course it's a cross-generation game because it was originally developed for PS4. And guess what other game was on the PS4 that was Horizon? Oh, that's right, it came to the PC.
The new game will feature dozens of new machines, and as PlayStation boss Jim Ryan explained, when speaking on Spider-Man, Sackboy, and Horizon, I quote, "While these 3 games were designed to take advantage of PS5 and its unique next-gen features like the ultra-high-speed SSD and DualSense controller, PS4 owners will also be able to enjoy these experiences when they launch." I think it's safe to say if you're interested in the game, you should just upgrade the console as well. Just leave it at that.
You know, I guess this is kind of a pun, but life's biggest question right now is, did you ever acquire a PS5? Did you ever go back and look at this video and say, man, I kind of missed some things? I don't think 2 of those things happened.
Speaking of Sackboy, at number 3 we got Sackboy: A Big Adventure. I know, it's an interesting one to have on this list, but with a rise in games like Fall Guys and even Fortnite...
Wait, Fortnite is a rising game? Also, Fall Guys died, and also, why is this a game that's going to kill the Xbox? I mean, it's just another small little platform game. If anything, it's more akin to Super Lucky's Tale.
I think a game like Sackboy could have some serious weight to it. The game will allow up to 4 people to play together at the same time, and will be developed with 3D platforming, unlike the previous Little Big Planet games, which only incorporated 2.5D platforming. And in the past, Sony and the PlayStation marketing team have found ways to incorporate a mascot of sorts to be the face of their console. In the past, it was Crash Bandicoot, who at one point was as recognizable of a face as Mario was. With that in mind, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sony try to push this mascot type of play in Sackboy, as it seems they've already started to incorporate the little brown puppet wherever they can.
Again, this is a game that's going to kill the Xbox? I mean, just call me crazy, but I don't think that there's a game that can kill an entire console. I'm just gonna be real with you here.
Now at number 2, Final Fantasy XVI. At the most recent showcase, PlayStation dropped trailers for a handful of games, including a Harry Potter game which is going to be available on all consoles. However, they also announced Final Fantasy XVI, which, I mean, clearly people enjoy the game if they made 15 of them in the past.
You know, I'm gonna be that guy right now. There's actually 95 different Final Fantasy games. So it's not just 15, unless you're meaning main storyline, but none of the storylines actually make any sense because they all take place in a different dimension or something. You know what, just whatever. There's 95 of them.
Of course, that just includes the original game, as they've made dozens of spin-off games or main series related games. Although it was originally released for PC in '87 in Japan and 1990 in North America, when the PlayStation jumped on board, it instantly became a console classic.
They were popular in Japan because it was pretty normal to have a JRPG, whereas in North America, when Final Fantasy VII finally came stateside, it was one of the first remnants of anime to ever really hit the stateside. So, I mean, sure, we can always just say main story related games, but does that really matter? Does it really ultimately matter?
Over the years, the series has continued to be a flagship title for the PlayStation, and with the most recent reveal of the game's trailer, as you can imagine, there has been some serious hype. However, like Demon's Souls, it seems FF16 will only be available for PlayStation and possibly PC down the line.
Yeah, when they started releasing all of these during like that weird little press conference thing that they had, it was very interesting because a lot of those trailers had what they refer to as human errors on them, where it said that the game was coming out on PC as well. And I mean, we are starting to see a lot of those whole slate games start to make it to the PC as well. So let's not knock this one off the list just yet.
The original trailer claimed the game would be available on PC as well, but as per IGN, I quote, Square Enix asked IGN to remove mention of PC from our initial FF16 news story, and when asked for a statement, a Square Enix spokesperson said, "We have no further information on if Final Fantasy XVI will be released on platforms other than the PS5. If this is the case, then PlayStation is really making a strong push for people, myself included, to switch over to the dark side."
Yeah, they also said the same thing about Demon's Souls, and then when they reached out to Sony, the representative said, well, Demon's Souls is exclusive to PS5, which doesn't really mean a whole lot, especially when you consider the human errors that they put in a lot of those trailers.
Finally, in at number 1, God of War Ragnarok. The game is going to be officially released in 2021, but with the latest trailer at the PlayStation Showcase, as you can imagine, people are very excited. God of War has also become a flagship title for the console, beginning with the first game in 2005, leading to a total of 8 games across numerous platforms, with this 9th one now in development. Not too much is known about the game itself, other than the fact that Kratos will be returning, but what I can say is the amount of hype just the announcement alone created is plenty of reason to believe this game will be a huge reason why PlayStation sales go up in 2021, months or even a year after the console's initial release.
You know what the God of War Ragnarok announcement reminds me of? It reminds me of Starfield when that was announced, and how everyone was really excited about Starfield. When's it coming out? And there was no information for a while, and then they finally gave us a release date back in E3, which was just a dreadful thing to ever watch. Don't watch it. But the thing is that these games, they have all of this hype around them, but it doesn't ultimately matter. If you really think about it, I don't know, maybe I'm being a negative Nancy about the entire thing, but when I look at God of War Ragnarok and how there's nothing really said about it, we still don't know anything about Starfield either, and that's an Xbox exclusive. So exclusives being announced doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. I really need to just see how the game looks and how it plays, and then maybe from there, we can go ahead and assess the situation. But I don't really see that happening, and of course, we have to blindly follow the leader when it comes to God of War. But the main thing here, I guess the ultimate point that I was trying to get to, no one can buy the fucking console.
And there you guys have it for the top 10 PlayStation 5 exclusive titles that will end Xbox.
So we had a remake, a roguelike game that, to be fair, wasn't all that great. And maybe we had like 2 actual games that are out for the console now that are they're supposed to kill the Xbox. Maybe I just don't see it, but I think the Xbox is doing all right with their little line of exclusives. But again, exclusivity is kind of terrible, and I think we should end it. With games becoming more cross-platform, I don't see the reason that we need to still have exclusivity for video games, especially when you can just buy it on your box of choice and then play with your other friends that are on their different boxes. It just makes no sense to me as a consumer, but then again, what else does? But I guess that's all I really had for, smart people takes. But this is just a little small video that I made for Niche Gamer, and I say small because it's like 19 minutes, but doesn't matter. You guys will probably not watch it all the way through anyways. Right?